Hello everybody, Darwin Conley, broker manager, Coldwell Banker Professionals here in Fenton. Chris Hendricks asked me to just kind of put out a little video here to kind of hit things off for the beginning of year 2017. So I've wrote down a few thoughts here, and a couple of questions as we think about this, and I appreciate your time as you watch this video. But we're thinking about where we want to go and what we want to do for the year 2017. What kind of income do you want? What's your why for having that? What would you do with it? Where would you go? How would it change your life? Of course, if we figure those things out first, we can then determine, well, how much money do we want? How many deals will we have to close to make that happen? Gosh, we could even break it down to what we'd have to do on a daily basis. And I guess that's where I'm kind of at with all of this, because where am I going? I want to direct you toward the Coldwell Banker Professionals Listing Bootcamp. So some thoughts here as we go in that direction. Let's say you wanted to make even $50,000 a year. What do you have to do to be able to make that amount of money? How many deals do you have to close? Thinking about it a little bit further, what do you do on a daily basis to be able to make that kind of money? Matter of fact, if you took a look in the mirror, had a quick thought, if you were going to hire somebody, and you were going to pay you $50,000 to do this thing called real estate sales, what would you require of you? What would you hold you accountable to on a daily basis to pay you that $50,000? As a matter of fact, thinking about that, would you continue to employ you based upon your current activities, current level of production? Or would we be doing the see ya? So here's some thoughts. I know you know. We have to work on lead generation on a daily basis. I'm just going to go through some notes here. My question is, you know that. What's holding you back from being able to do that? Another thought I've written down, do you know what to do if you were in lead generation and someone said yes? Yes, we're thinking of selling. Do you know what to do? If not, we may need to see each other. How about this? Do you know what to do if someone said yes and you got an appointment? Do you know what you do on that appointment? Do you know the process, the methodology, where you would go, what you would take with you? Gosh, what if they were interviewing more than one agent for the job of selling their home? Do you have the presentation skills? Do you have the knowledge? Do you have what it takes to differentiate yourself in the eyes of the homeowner? How about closing? Do you know the secret to closing? If not, we may need to see each other. Gosh, here's the thought. The Coldwell Banker Professionals Listing Bootcamp. Let me take you through some of the things that we'd want to do. Business capital. How do we find it? What do we do? How do we find it? How do we get it? Matter of fact, how do we find prospects? We know that we need to do this lead generation thing on a daily basis. How do we do that? What if you knew that there were a way that you could work, well, I'm going to call it passively, where you do things that will cause the business to come to you, and I'm going to refer to that as high tech. And we also know, you've learned this, we have a tendency to not want to do this, but of course if we don't do this, we get what most don't get, and we all then end up with the same result, which is they're out of the business. So actively, we're going to go after the business. High tech. And you guys know, high touch. Actively going after the business. It's a high touch business. Who's the best people that we touch? Sphere of influence. For sale by owners. Expireds. So, why haven't you? You know that these people are the best sources for us to go through. Why haven't we called them? Why haven't we actually even walked up? Why haven't we got face to face? Gosh, we have technology. Why haven't we texted? Why haven't we used messaging? Probably because we lack knowledge. How about this? Are you aware of the 4 components that cause a successful sale? Are you aware of the 4 components that will cause a home to sell? Or in some cases, in dealing with an expired, most importantly, what causes a home not to sell? If you don't have an answer to that, I'm thinking we need to see each other. So let me do this for you. I just kind of wrote down the outline for what the Listing Bootcamp is all about. First part of it, the obvious. We're finding business. How do we go out and generate leads that will turn into appointments, that will turn into listings, that will turn into closed sales? By the way, right now, I don't care if it's a buyer or seller. Do you? I just want to get the business. Matter of fact, once I have it, do I understand how to close on the business? Do I know closing? Do I know a process for closing? Or do I just know the ABCs of closing, which if you've never heard of that before, the always be closing, it'll work. Just not long term. See, I'd rather you do a consultative form of selling. That's where understanding the closing process, the methodology behind it, really comes into it. How do I close to get an appointment? How do I close and get signatures on contracts that will lead to closings? Let's take you to the point of presentation. And again, it's a listing boot camp. Where are we going to take you? Right down the road, the steps to success, the steps to becoming a listing professional. You're a listing machine. How about, have we ever considered the difference between a one-stop approach and a two-stop approach? How about setting the stage? What do I do when I really get there? What's my process or my agenda when I arrive? Can I do certain things that would make me more comfortable and the client more comfortable because we may have explained the process or the agenda that we're going to propose? Pre-listing package. Have you ever used one? Why not get yourself sold before you ever even walk in the door? Pre-listing package is something that you can do or use, send, put in their hands in advance that might just have you walk in the door and they've already chose you. How would that make you feel? How about the qualifying questions? See, how can you get to the point of knowing what someone needs? Or let me rephrase that. Let's go a different direction. How can you be the answer to someone's prayers until you know what they're praying for? Deep thoughts. Just think about that. We need the qualifying questions. We're going to give you a list of 16 questions that you can start out with because, see, if I can walk in knowing what it is that they need to be able to make a decision as to whether or not to, 1, sell a house, and 2, whether or not I'm the person that they're going to hire, it'll make all the difference in the world, especially in your confidence. Next thing I wrote down, how would you like to know the secret to setting a realistic, competitive asking price, one that would cause it to sell in less than 30 days? What if you could get, gosh, we were talking 50,000. Let's just say you could get 1 listing a month that would sell in 30 days. What's the potential? What could you do? Would it give you the goals that you've set? Would it help you meet the dreams that you have? It's something to consider. We get to the Listing Bootcamp, I will give you the secret to setting a realistic competitive asking price, one that causes homes to sell in less than 30 days. And oh, by the way, regardless of the market. Of course, you have to come to the boot camp to be able to find out what that is. Then we're going to get into a lot of, well, here, I know a lot of people don't like role playing. We're going to skip the role playing. We're going to go directly to what we're going to do skill building exercises. Hey, listen, you've learned it Now we've got to practice it. And if you can do it with someone else who knows what it is you're supposed to be doing, how good will you be when you get with a real one who doesn't have any idea of what you're supposed to do? This is good stuff. So we're going to do the skill building exercises. Oh, even objection handling, because have you ever had an objection that you really didn't have a good answer for? What if, regardless of what anybody told you, what any seller, any buyer might say to you, you always had a response? We're going to teach you what the response pattern is that will always lead you into some form of an objection handling technique, handling any seller concerns that will get you over the hump and into a signed contract. So, along with that, there will be the process for handling seller objections. We're even going to give you specific verbiage, dialogue, and techniques proven to handle most common seller concerns. So, bottom line becomes this. You have an opportunity to invest in your business, you incorporated, and it costs you nothing but one day for 3 weeks. And how much money could you make when you just know that you know that you know? What if we took you from good to better? What if we took you from good to great? Matter of fact, what's the difference between first and second? It's about, let's see, you can get it right there. About that much. I'm reminded of this one thing. And I heard this as a quote from Teddy Roosevelt. So whether or not you've been in the business forever, gosh, Darwin, hey Rick, Mike, Barb, what if I'd already taken this? Should I do it again? The answer is yes. And here's the reason. How much from the first class did you actually remember? How much from the first class did you put in place? We need to hear things over and over again. I'm one of those who stood and did receive the biggest benefit. I want you to do the same thing. And here's what I remember as a quote from Teddy Roosevelt. You should always be green and growing, for once you ripen, you rot. So if you're good, don't rot. If you're still ripening, let's get to a place where we can give you a great deal of information that will tell you what you need, point A to point Z, all the steps in between to become a listing professional. I want to see you February 1st, February 8th, and February 16th in Flint at the East Central Association of Realtors. Guys, thank you for your time. I'm humbled by the opportunity to be able to share what I've learned from so many to help you become who you want to be in real estate. You guys have a great one.